Yo, everybody. It's your boy Kenny, and welcome to week 9 of fantasy football here. Sorry for the delay in this. I had a late night getting back from Texas yesterday, so didn't get a chance to record, but we balled today. Here we go. So, again, as I say every week, pretty good amount happened, honestly. A lot has happened. We had a major injury, which was very unfortunate, honestly. And then we also had a trade in the league as well. So we will get to all of that. But first, let's take a look at the standings here. So looking on over in the East, we have Corey here. At 6-2, and then Nick, who is pretty much the hottest team in the league right now, is 5-3, one game right behind him. Nick is the winner of 4 straight currently, so he is currently on a tear right now, and a one of the fears in the league. So definitely wouldn't want to be facing him at this moment. He has been blowing people out left and right. And then we got Dan at 4-4 on a little bit of a losing streak, but I'm sure he'll pick it right back up. And then Shane and Vinny tied at 3-5 there. So definitely, it's still this division very close. Actually, both divisions are really close. But this one, it's still anybody's game here. It is, anybody can gouge for that top spot. You got games back 1, 2, and 3, and they are still. We're going into week 9 now. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 6 weeks left. So it is not over at all for anybody, especially in the East. Looking over on the West side, though. Myself leading the pack at 1, and I took a game up on the Bubble Bass. 6-2 there. Bubble Bass down to 5-3, and then Tybo 3-5, Trayvon 3-5, and Ant at 2-6. It's a rough one, Ant. Being 2-6 here, 4 games back, with being 6 games left in the season. I mean, at least for the 1 spot, it's going to be tough, but you definitely still have a shot at the, a good shot at the 4 seed, even the 3 seed. So, that's what you'll be fighting for. So you got it, Ant. Just keep pushing through. But yeah, so far just a very competitive league. But we will see what happens here. And then taking a look at the season stats like we looked at yesterday. I lead the league with points forward, points, and then points allowed is Tybo at 1,055. It's unfortunate. So yeah, but let's move on to first things first. Let's take a look at the recent trade that just occurred. Sorry, Paul. Oh, here it is, recent activity. That's what I was trying to look for. Okay. So looking at the recent activity, and we'll also go through the waiver pickups as well this week. So looking at the trade here, trade. It was a last week trade, so we have to go back a little bit. Traded. Here we go. Apologies, everybody. All right, so here's the trade that just occurred here this past Thursday, October 23rd. It was between Corey and I. I had sent George Pickens and Omarion Hampton for James Cook and DJ Moore. Now, you're probably thinking, as far as the reactions, the reasoning, I'm going to explain the reasoning behind the reason why I made this trade. One, I had Jonathan Taylor and Kyra Williams, right? I feel like I knew Kyron was going to have a stronger schedule the second half. And Hampton's just sitting on the bench. I wasn't going to wait for Hampton to come back, week he's probably coming back week 13 at this point. And I knew that BMAC was, making his, he started coming back. His team was getting hot, coming back. So I had to go for the trade now because I knew the strength of schedule. James Cook has an easier schedule coming up. And I knew with George Pickens, yes, it's the top offense in the league, but, historically with the Dallas Cowboys offense, with CeeDee Lamb in the mix, he is the number one. So this takes a step back in Pickens' production a little bit. Not saying it's gonna completely dive off. He has that connection with Dak, but it's not gonna be wide receiver one caliber numbers. And I figured, well, I might as well get another running back in for Hampton or a flex option. I scooped up James Cook, and he pretty much performed. So, that's the reasoning behind it. So I know you guys are all freaking out. So Corey just has Hampton sitting on his bench until week 13. So, yeah, maybe when he comes back, and if the Chargers end up trading for a running back, he might dive into Hampton's workload a little bit. So, there's I know it's crazy. It seems crazy, but there's a method to my madness. Don't worry. And I'll show you this madness once we review the week. But that was the trade. And yeah. So thank you, Corey, for that trade. All right. So moving on to the waiver pickups this week. So we had here okay. Well, probably the number one waiver wire pickup this week, Tyrone Tracy. Absolutely the number one, with the brutal injury to Cam Scatterbo. That really hurt. He was having a terrific season, and it's very unfortunate. His leg was turned the other way. It was really bad. So Tyrone Tracy, obviously the number one waiver wire pickup this week, as there's pretty much nobody else competing in that backfield. So he will be the go-to guy, in that Giants backfield, who was starting to get very hot too. So Tyrone Tracy definitely taking the reins again, and Ant, what a great pickup. That definitely helps. And then we also have Shane picking up Tajay Spears. Sneaky pickup. I like it too, because he could definitely take over that Titans backfield for sure. I mean, the Titans, anybody on the Titans right now is brutal. It's rough. You really can't hit. This is probably the one year where you're not starting anybody from the Titans. You just can't. Unless you're in a deeper league, you're not starting anybody from the Titans this year. So, which is kind of crazy. You would think usually at least one person per team there's somebody to start. No. So Tajay Spears, he might take over that backfield. He's got that burst of energy. Maybe he'll split reps at first with Tony, but I like the pickup. It's a he has a chance to lead that backfield. Yeah, and there you go. As I'm speaking about it, BMAC dropped Calvin Ridley. He's also hurt. Picked up Jalen Noel. I definitely, I think he's the rookie. I think he's a rookie, right? Believe so. But yeah, he's been, last two games, he's had 6-7 targets. Could be developing some chemistry with CJ Stroud there. And if, Nico gets hurt, he's probably the go-to guy. Let's see here. Yeah, I picked up Kyler Murray because, Baker's on a bye this week. And Arizona plays Dallas, and we already know. I picked up Juwan Jennings. He's pretty much like their third down guy, the 49ers, but he's technically their wide receiver one until Ayuk comes back. So, I mean, granted, not sure what that really means because that's CMC's team, so yeah. A great pickup by Trayvon this week was Bam Knight. Bam Knight, he's going to be the lead back for one game because Trey Benson comes back next week. But against the Dallas defense, who just pretty much just gives up like double-digit fantasy points to any player, it's a good pickup for this week. If you need a running back. BMAC taking on Keishon Boutte. Keishon Boutte is a great definition of boomer bust this year. You could see, 16, 13, 26, and he has 7, 2. So, he's been booming lately, but I don't expect that. Patriots, you would think they would probably trade for a wide receiver before the NFL trade deadline, which, by the way, is November 4th. So that is coming up. So we should definitely see some moves before then. And also Trayvon also picked up Kareem Hunt, with the injury to Isaiah Pacheco. He's week to week. Kareem Hunt will probably take more of some of the workload, maybe taken from that Brayshawn Smith. I mean, Brayshawn Smith is pretty good, but Kareem Hunt's well known in the offense, so he'll definitely feast in that role there. I mean, the Chiefs don't really run the ball too much, so just kind of like a emergency pickup. So yeah, those are some pretty good waiver pickups there. I understand the need for all of them, and obviously the main pickup being Tyrone Tracy. All right, guys, let's move on to last week's games. So we had some pretty high scoring teams here. A lot of us had we all scored over. We scored 100 or over, which was great. We had nobody under 100, so at least some teams performed. And I want to let's start with the blowout of the week here, being between Tybo and Nick. Nick put up a whopping 147 points in the 44-point blowout to Tybo's team. Nick's team just keeps getting better and better. I mean, the Chargers are looking amazing now. They're kind of back to form. Tucker Kraft, what a great tight end. He's becoming kind of what you figured like Brock Bowers would be or something like that. You know what I mean? Brock Bowers or a Trey McBride-esque, Kittle-esque. A lot of these like older tight ends like Kelsey and Kittle, they're phasing out and all these new guys are coming in. So guys like, Kraft, Bowers, and Ferguson and McBride, those are your guys now. Warren, those are all your guys. And like Daniel Dopp says right here, he's a set and forget at tight end one. He is. You were gonna keep Tucker Kraft in. He has amazing chemistry. Pretty much the go-to guy for that Packers offense. So at 33 points was amazing. Yeah. And like I had mentioned, unfortunate injury to Cam Scatterbo. And Scatterbo, the way the Giants were performing, and you saw Jackson Dart how hurt he was when he was pissed when Scatterbo got hurt. Not saying it's Scatterbo's fault, but he knew that they were on a roll. And, not comparing, but really if you think about it, they reminded me, since they're both rookies, of the 2016 version of Dak and Zeke. They really were. They have amazing chemistry. They were producing very well, performing very well. Records were a little different, but it kind of just reminds me, of the chemistry that they had. So, with these two rookies, it's unfortunate that this happened to Cam. I really liked Cam, too. That guy was a beast in college. And unfortunately, these types of injuries, you never come back the same. So hopefully, get him healthy for next year. Yeah, all prayers up to Cam. That was very unfortunate. He was having, if you can see, look at here. He when he took over that lead back role, he was producing. So prayers up, Cam. But yeah, so that was the main injury there. And, it looks like Nick has some depth here he can to replace. And he put up 147 with JSN on the bench. Imagine he had JSN. Whew, crazy. Um, yeah, 25 points from Herbert, a dominating win over Minnesota. Achan, as bad as that Miami offense is, he is the guy. So, all the credit to Achan. And Lad McConkey finally broke out. Um, he pretty slow start to the season. Actually, not finally. He's been breaking out. My apologies. Yeah, so he had a slow start, but yeah, he's finally realizing that. Look at that, 15, 10 targets, 9, 7. Like, he is being targeted. Quentin Johnson's definitely taken a back seat in that offense. It is now a Ladd and Keenan Allen base offense. So, that's really huge because Ladd was Justin's guy last year. So, and you can see that they're having so much success. But overall, great performance, Nick. That was a, 4 in a row. You were definitely the hottest team right now. Keep it up, man. Keep it up. All right, moving on over to Tybo here. He had a couple big guys on his bye. All his Lions players were on a bye. Definitely, that was a majority of his offense, his points. Rashad White had a rough game. 8 points. And I know Bucky Irving will be coming back soon. So yeah, I mean, like I said, if you have your defense leading the way in points, it's usually never a good thing. But great to see the Buccaneers, 25 points. I mean, the Saints just, I think they had like 2 pick sixes or something like that. Saints are just, that team right now is as bad as Tennessee. So, Sterling Shepard with 1.8. Yeah, I mean, they won 23-3, but the Buccaneers offense was not really producing well. I think Baker didn't even have a touchdown. It was mainly it was a defensive game for them. Jacobs was only held to 13 points. Recent games he was, you can see here, 18, 32, 31. That workload is getting to him too. So, yeah, this was a rough one. It's great to see DeAndre Swift, though, becoming almost a top 10 back, but he's been playing very well. In that Bears offense, kind of one of the bright spots, too. So, but overall, you'll get your guys back this week, Tybo, and you'll definitely have a better game for sure. All right, moving on over to the next, I guess, blowout, if you want to say, would be between Vinny and Dan. Vinny with a whopping 143, Dan with 107. It's a big win for Vinny. Definitely needed it. And yeah, you could see here, finally, Saquon. Finally, 33 points, 2 touchdowns, 150 yards against the Giants. Yeah, definitely, much needed for Saquon. The Eagles players are having a rough year, so really great to see. Very odd-esque game for Christian McCaffrey. Season lows, 68 scrimmage yards, like total scrimmage yards. Only had 8 carries. It was a rough game, and hopefully with Purdy coming back, he should. They're saying he's questionable for this game. He could potentially come back. We can. That'll be a big boost to the offense because as much as Mac Jones has been, it's not Brock Purdy. So, but Drake May, let's talk about the Patriots, man. Drake May right now is played at a very high level. He is absolutely balling. That team is balling. I mean, granted, respect to them. It's their schedule. You play who's in front of you. But if you really look at their schedule, Raiders, Miami, Pittsburgh, Carolina. I mean, they did beat Buffalo. Saints, Tennessee, Cleveland. I mean, they've really played some pretty weak teams. So they should really be this should be their record. They get Atlanta this week. They're having quarterback issues. Tampa Bay Jets. So yeah, I mean, really, it's when they get to that Buffalo Baltimore, we'll see if they can. If they're still producing pretty high, it's an easy schedule for them. So we'll. But great to see Drake May very well, number 3 QB. And probably the one bright spot is Goddard, 17 points. Very well for the Eagles team. And unfortunately, Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones is back this week, so Jordan Mason will pretty much take a back seat. He did play pretty well, I would say, few games while he was gone, but now that he's back, it's kind of a back seat. And unfortunately, had the injury to Drake London, but London should be back this week. Yeah, but great job, Vinny. Big points put up, and yeah, good luck next week. Dan, moving on over to Dan's side. Oh, geez, I don't even want to talk about this, being a Cowboys fan. But, yeah, Dak, horrible game. Got absolutely blown out by Denver. A weird game for Bijan, you know. It was kind of like a curse game. You know, we were going up against Miami. Every other running back who played against Miami, like, had over, like, 200 rushing yards. And, of course, when Bijan goes, 5.8 fantasy points. That was he had 9 carries for 25 yards, like the complete opposite. So it was a really weird game. But like I said, Kirk Cousins, dude. So Kirk Cousins just recently said that he wants to go to and be a QB1 somewhere else. Boy, he couldn't even beat the Dolphins. So I don't know what that guy's talking about. I mean, do they even look good with Penix? I mean, they looked better, at least, than what they did with Kirk. I mean, that was a brutal game. Penix hopefully should be back this week, and that'll help out Bijan. But, boy, that was rough. Rough game by the running backs, Ramondre as well. They were saying that the Patriots are looking to trade for a running back, which doesn't make sense because they have Travion Henderson. So, like, they're not using him, so I'm not really sure what they mean by that. I guess the one bright spot here is Michael Pittman. You know, that Colts offense, anybody on that Colts offense right now is balling. Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman. I mean, those guys, those you could have a team of just Colts players, and you would probably win your week. You know, it's great to see because, you know, this is what he was about 2 years ago, not last year. Last year he took a step back. 2 years ago he was very, you know, like this. But great to see Pittman performing well because the Colts are performing well. And then Travis Kelce, there we go. Travis Kelce with the breakout game. I mean, you know, we figured Travis Kelce would always take a step back, but he is the number 5 tight end. 21 fantasy points. This past week, 99 yards, almost at 100. You know, it was really great to see Kelce perform well. Get a touchdown too with Taylor at the game. Oh yeah. Dan also did not have Jaden Daniels or Bucky Irving. So that's rough. But Bucky's been out for some while. Hopefully though, he should come back in week 10 against New England. He's on a bye this week. But hopefully he'll get Bucky back and Dan will be right back at the top again. But otherwise, great job, Vinny. Great job. All right, so let's move on to the nail biter, quote unquote nail biter this week, and that would be Ant taking on Corey. Corey was down, I think 15, I believe it was, to Ant until Patty Mahomes had his Monday night game. So congrats, Corey. You know, Holmes cleared that with 22. Very good. So looking at Corey here, Breece Hall, 32.86. He did have a passing touchdown. So crazy enough, they gave it to their own running back to win the game. Jets get their first win against Cincinnati. What a game too. Yeah, that was some game. 39-38, Jets first win. Congrats, Breece Hall, a whopping 32 fantasy points. You know, he's the guy there, and they were even thinking about looking to trade him. I don't know if they're still looking to trade him. He's on a bye this week, but let's look at last week. 18 carries for 133 yards, passing touchdown, 2 touchdowns last week. He was, yeah, he is the guy. And they're looking to trade him. The Chargers were looking to probably get some help. Probably the Patriots. It's a weird one. I don't know why they would after that game, but I guess if they could get something in return. I mean, they're trying to rebuild? I mean, I don't know. So, but great to see Breece Hall, 32 fantasy points. That's essentially what he's needed. Pickens getting his projection at 14.8 after I traded him, so it worked out for Corey. Great job. And then a donut, no Johnston, no problem apparently. So Quentin Johnston with the 0. He's definitely taken a step back. Definitely the number 3 at this point after being a top wide receiver. For the first 4 weeks. Being number 3. So he's definitely now taking that back seat. It's just how that's that fantasy roller coaster, man. No Puka as well, no Trey McBride, and got the win. So, great way to hold off there, Corey, for your win, and great job. Now moving on over to Ant's side here, Jordan Love with a great game, 28 points. Kamani Vidal, we were a little worried about Kamani, getting, we were worried about him being, because that last game, not last week, but the week before that, it was a little rough for him. And that's why the Chargers were looking probably to get somebody like Breece Hall. So I don't know if the Chargers want to do that anymore. I mean, Kamani played very well last game. He had 23 carries for 117 yards. His second game with over 100 yards, a touchdown, 19 fantasy points. He gets a nice matchup against Tennessee this week. So look for Kamani to play very well this coming week. But that was great to see. And he's definitely taken that RB1 spot until Hampton comes back. And, technically he's eligible to be off IR next week, Hampton. But they said they might keep him longer off the bye till week 13. Could be slow build up. We don't know when he's coming back. We just have no clue. And it's very unfortunate, Justin Jefferson. He's still a wide receiver 1. He's a wide receiver. He gets targeted. He's only had 1 touchdown this year. So that Vikings offense, with Carson Wentz, is brutal. I'm very happy that J.J. McCarthy is coming back because that's going to be a big help to the whole Vikings offense because Carson Wentz is terrible. He was actually put as on IR, I think, or season-ending surgery or something like that or whatever. So he's done for the year. So it's McCarthy's team. Yeah, and how about Chris Olave, though, really quick? Jumping in here, Chris Olave, the number sneakily, very sneaky, being a top 10 wide receiver this year. He is heavily targeted every week. Look at this. 13, 10, 14, 11, 10, 12. He's had a lot of targets. They are now starting Tyler Show going forward. So we'll see if that has any impact to Chris Olave, but he's been performing very well. For kind of being on the Saints, people on the Saints like, oh man, it's the Saints, they stink. Well, yeah, Chris Olave. So so overall, it was a really good matchup, honestly. Just a little bit, some weak performances here by Keenan and Hawkinson, and no points by the Falcons. He just put a better defense in. Granted, it was against Miami, so I don't blame him. But great job, Corey. And you have reclaimed you're still... All right, let's move on to my matchup versus Shane here. I did claim the victory here by 12 points. So it was definitely, being tied with BMAC, definitely something I wanted to win because I wanted to kind of reclaim that number 1. So looking at here, we'll start over on my side. Was carried by my running backs. 37.4 from Taylor, 33.6 from James Cook after making that trade. So you can say If I didn't make that trade, I would have lost, right? Very poor performance by my wide receivers. Debo, with Mariota, just I don't know. It's rough, man. We need Jaden Daniels back. That's all I gotta say. Scary Terry had a touchdown. Good for him to see. Dobbs 9.4. No Ferguson. I guess no problem. A donut for Ferguson. I don't. No, still tight end 1 on the year. It was just that Denver defense was just smothering. So rough. Very rough to see on Ferguson dropping a donut, but not many of the Cowboys players really performed except CD and Javonte. So, which we'll show here. Kittle, 14 points. He had that break year, National Tight End Day. Of course, grabs a touchdown there. It was actually a pretty sick catch. So, but yeah, and then Baker with a very poor performance. Had 4 points. That was, like I said, that was more of the defensive game. But, I mean, if we have to talk about MVPs here for a sec, I mean, truly think about it. It's really unfortunate that the MVP is a QB award at this point, because Jonathan Taylor is doing things like he's on pace for like over 2,000 yards. He's had, if you look at his last like few games here, look at this. He had one receiving touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, 3. He's had the last 3 out of the last 4 games. He's had 3 touchdowns. I mean, leads the league in touchdown and yards. James Cook is number 2 in rushing yards. So it's great to have those guys as for fantasy purposes. We'll move over to Shane's side here. Josh Allen, nice 23 points, put a whooping on Carolina. I know that it was great. The Bills' offense was struggling the last couple weeks, so it's great that they had this little bounce back win. And Jacory, yeah, I'm calling him Jacory because he ain't producing like a Bill. Jacory Krusky Merritt, very hyped up guy. Only 2.5 fantasy points. I mean, going against Kansas City, they just abandoned the run. So, yeah. Javonte and CD performing well as usual. Probably one of the weaker performances from Tyler Warren this week. His second worst game, actually. It was against Tennessee, too, actually. Look at that. So, Tennessee at 6.8. Tennessee again, 9.3. So, Tennessee knew what to cover, I guess. With A.J. Brown out, Devontae Smith played very well, 14.4 fantasy points. He's number 10 currently, so a top 10 wide receiver. He's been playing pretty well. Some boomer bust games. They're on a bye this week, and then they get Green Bay, so we'll see what happens there. But overall, and then Xavier Worthy, I mean, you can tell he is taking he's taking a little bit of a backseat to Rashee Rice, man. Once Rashee Rice came, Worthy just is now going to be your deep threat. And then they also have Kelsey in the mix. He still at 10 points, but you could see it's not producing to what you expect. But overall, great matchup, Shane. Yeah. And we'll move on to the final matchup that just occurred. We had Trayvon taking on BMAC here. BMAC with 100 points exactly, 100.26. Another one of his weaker games, unfortunately. And Trayvon sneakily making his way with these wins here. The Browns, the Bengals are back. All I gotta say is this is what he was hoping how they would be producing when drafting Jamar Chase and Chase Brown. Look how quickly Jamar Chase became the number 1 wide receiver. It literally only took 4 weeks worth. 4 weeks. It's crazy. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, that offense with Joe Flacco is so much better than Jake Browning. So he doesn't even deserve to say his name. His name said right. So great to see in a Chase Brown breakout game. Another guy that we'll see what happens. I mean, he had his best game. Can he do it again in Chicago? Bo Nix playing very well. That Denver team was looking very good too, dangerous. And then this is why you wait for the guy, Rashee Rice. 25 fantasy points. Caught all of his 9 for 9 for 93 yards and a touchdown. This is who Patty Mahomes was looking to. This is his guy, and this is worth the wait. So, yep. And then this was also with Brock Bowers as well on the bench. But overall, and he didn't even put a kicker in. He was like, screw it, I ain't putting a kicker. So overall, he didn't really need to anyway, because by the time he was up by 0.2 with Rice left, so unless Rice caught it and fumbled and didn't catch anymore, he would have lost, but it didn't matter. But great win, Trey, and Trey's team is starting to pick up some speed here, so keep it up, Trey. All right. Well, we're going to move on to the week 9 matchups here. Starting off, me taking on Trayvon, actually. So we go to the matchup here. I'm projected 130s, projected 125. They're giving me a 53% chance. But taking a look here, I'm not sure if lineups are fully set, but, he obviously beats me out in the wide receiver core. I will definitely beat him in the running back. Tight ends, pretty equal. Yeah, so this should be a pretty close match. I mean, you got. Well, the one thing I have to say is, I think Joe Flacco's status is up in the air because he hurt his arm. So if Jake Browning does come in, that can be a big blow to how well Jamar Chase and Chase Brown perform. So, and then granted, it is against Chicago, weaker defense. So we'll see what happens there. Will Brock Bowers have a breakout game? We're not sure. This game, KC against Buffalo, should be an absolutely fantastic game. That's the one we'll definitely look forward to at 4:30. I'm sure we'll all be watching. But, this one, if Joe Flacco's ruled out, I will lean my way, just because Jake Browning does not know how to lead an offense. So, we'll see what happens here, but good luck, Trayvon. Moving on over to the next matchups, we got Vinny taking on Tybo. Tybo has yet to set his lineup, so I can't say who will. I'm assuming he's going to put in Amon-Ra, Laporta, and Jared Goff. So, assuming he puts those guys in. On a bye, we have Saquon, Garrett Wilson, and Goddard. So, kind of a big hit on a bye. So backups have to come in here. Theo Johnson, Zach Charbonnet. But when Tybo fixes his lineup, I will definitely lean his way. He'll probably be carried, Vinny, by CMC and Drake May. Charbonnet, shares roles. Drake London, a little bit banged up, so not sure about his status. And Sutton has, I don't know, he's been playing well, but I just he's weird sometimes. Like, he gets targeted, and in some games he doesn't. I don't know. Sutton's a weird one, but when Tybo fixes his lineup, I will lean his way on this one for sure. Especially with Jacobs, he'll Jacobs, and he'll probably have to throw Aaron Jones in. Amon-Ra's coming back, Laporta, so then you got Swift. So he'll definitely have some big help, much needed help. So good luck, gentlemen. Moving on over to the next matchup, we have our pretty even matchup here at Dan taking on BMAC. BMAC fully gets his guys back here. He's got Jalen on a bye and Judkins and Igbuka, but he gets much needed help in Gibbs back, and Derrick Henry. So, so That's gonna be big. Fortunately, with Ibuka on a bye, he's gonna put in Booty, so hopefully Booty's got one of those boom games. Rondé Gadsden, man, whew, he's looking very strong. Look at these last 3 games, been targeted heavily. That's why Quentin Johnson's down with the donut. That rapport now between Herbert and Gadsden is huge. Very rough for Kamara this year. It's been very bad. He has been that Saints offense is terrible. You pretty much can only start Olave at that point. Pretty much the only team where you can start Olave. That's it. Maybe this will be the game that he kind of goes off against the Rams, but he's also practicing. He has an ankle injury, so it's a pretty tough. But unfortunately, these guys are on a bye, so you got to do what you got to do, right? And looking over on Dan's side here, any bye week, Bucky should come back next week. Dak's got a way better matchup against Arizona. Bijan going up against New England. That Travis Kelce Buffalo matchup should be good. Some tough defenses here. Whew. This is a pretty even matchup, just because Dan's got some pretty tough matchups. But a lot of key players, some of the key players are also out for BMAC. So this is probably one of the 50-50 matchups that could swing either way, honestly. So best of luck, gentlemen. All right, moving on over to Nick taking on Corey here. Nick's projected 142 points. Jesus, that's pretty crazy. Has only Harold Fannin on a bye, but that doesn't matter. He's got Tucker Kraft. For Corey, he's got Breece Hall on a bye, which is pretty big. But he gets the return of Puka Nacua, which is massive for his offense. So with Puka, Trey McBride, Adunze, Pickens, he's got, wide receivers, whew, look out. Running backs, it's a little rough there. But hopefully the running backs shouldn't really matter. But I'm definitely, and then going back to Nick, he gets JSN back. I think he's projected like 24 points. That's nuts. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to lean Nick on this one. And that could potentially, if Nick does win, he could take over Corey at that 1 seed. So, we'll see what happens here. But best of luck, gentlemen. And moving on over to our final matchup of the week. We got 3-5 Shane taking on 2-6 Ant. Ant projected a 51%, 49. Let's take a look here. Ant gets Lamar back, hopefully, and he puts Tyrone Tracy in since he has Tyrone Tracy. Jefferson Keenan on his bye. He's got AJ Brown, and that's about it. No, Ant, this could be a solid lineup for you. A solid lineup for you to win here. Yeah, this is looking good. Lamar playing Miami, he should definitely feast. That's actually tonight. And then Shane over here, Josh Allen, Javonte. Had to put in Tony Pollard, just because Ja'Cory is not playing well. Devontae Smith is on a bye. But, BTJ, Nico Collins, get healthy, get right. They should be good. CD, we know what he's going to do. And I'm sure Warren should have a bounce-back game. So, this one, I think this one I'm still going to lean Shane, just because that Josh Allen KC matchup should be phenomenal. And so I will definitely lean Shane on this one. But it's fantasy. Anything can happen. But otherwise, gentlemen, that will do it for this week. We're coming near the actual NFL trade deadline, November 4th. Our fantasy NFL trade line is November 26th, so we got a couple weeks left of that if anybody wants to do trades. Overall, it's been a very good year. Remember, this was the year that we all had 24 hours to pick, each pick. So that's why it's been very competitive this year. We're all picking players that we thought would perform well. So obviously, duh. You had time to make your picks. So yeah. Overall, though, guys, that will do it for this week. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And we're going to double-digit weeks next week. Week 10. Can't wait for that. And On that note, Kenny's Corner out. Peace.